This is a team of top ocean anglers. They catch tens of thousands of tons of tuna each year. A hook is enough to make a tuna shiver. The annual tuna hunting season is about to begin. Captain OTT as the season champion in previous years. This year they vowed to break through themselves. The conquest gave them a quota of 278 metric tons. That means they catch an average of 1 bluefin tuna a day. These numbers made him very unhappy. 1 fish a day is enough for everyone. Give me a ton. Catch a ton a day. Tyler and his sister Marissa are on their way. They got a new boat this season. This ship will give them a great advantage. The boat was bought with a loan. He must try his best to catch tuna and repay the loan. Captain Cook also summoned the entire crew. The fishing season starts after 12 o'clock tonight. Oil prices have skyrocketed recently. Put a lot of pressure on him. If I catch 1 fish a day, then he will be rich. Captain Paul brought only 1 member. Their harvest last year was not good. I hope this year will have a good luck. Captain Marcia is also assembled. He will take his son and nephew to sea this year. It doesn't matter if the family pays or not. Marcia may be the blackest and most profitable captain this year. All the captains came to the fishing spot in the middle of the night. It's fishing season after 12 tonight. It's also been a disastrous season for tuna. Before we even started fishing for tuna, they usually need to catch some mackerel from the sea as bait. Everyone is looking forward to 0 o'clock. At 12:05, first bait in the water. Everyone begins to wait for the tuna to have their midnight snack. There are plenty of fishing spots in the sea. The captain chooses the right fishing position according to his own experience. While waiting for the tuna, the crew needs to keep fishing for mackerel bait. The first tuna of each season will fetch a high price. All captains want to catch their first fish. There may be some luck involved. The lights under the boat attract many small fish. Tuna were soon detected. Other captains found the fish too. The detectors are picking up more and more tuna approaching. A crazy fishing war is about to begin. The crew quickly drop the bait. Soon the rod is pulled directly. Taylor's boat was the first to fish. His excitement took off straight away. My sister is in charge of fishing. Taylor directs the boat. The tuna is underwater. Unfortunately, he's in the bottom of the boat. If you don't change the position in time, the line will most likely be cut. While the tuna isn't putting up a fight, Marissa kept tightening the line. She guessed it was a big tuna. Watching the line being pulled, Marissa shouted excitedly. But then something happened.
Whoa!
The tuna broke the hook. Tuna bites are luck, but tuna decoupling is strength. Originally in the excitement of the two, now I feel desperate and want to jump into the sea. Who would have thought it was only a minute ago? None of the captains had anything to gain that night. Captain Marcia is very confident in his choice of position. At 8 a.m., crew member Jason starts making breakfast. He wanted the smell of breakfast to remind the tuna that it was time for breakfast. Soon the tuna came here. Can you really catch tuna cooking breakfast on a boat? They surprised themselves. Stop what you're doing at once. Wait for the tuna to bite. Suddenly, the fishing line was jerked. They were instantly excited. It takes at least 2 men to catch a tuna. 1 man is in charge of fishing. 1 man is responsible for steering the ship. Always pull hard when you're fishing for tuna. You need to wait for the tuna to wear out. Tighten the line again. The energy of the teammates was quickly consumed. If they can be the team that catches their first tuna of the season. They had some problems with retracting the line. If we don't get rid of it in time, could very well lose this tuna. Marcia is confident she will catch her first tuna. Soon the tuna's strength is exhausted. When the tuna is pulled to the surface, what awaits is a fatal shot. The Marcia team succeeded in getting their first tuna. They tied the fish's tail with rope. Tuna caught needs to be cooled back in the water. This is their first tuna of the season. All the members were happy. Marcia spread the word to the other teams. This tuna is the envy of all captains. Wait for the tuna to cool down. Marcia was pulled into the boat by tuna. This is the first tuna of the season. It's only 78 inches, but it's big enough. They returned to the port and began to sell fish. But buyers are already waiting for them. Marcia thought the fish was small, but the fish should be of good quality. The price of tuna is determined by the fat content and core of the fish. It's like opening a blind box. Sample a piece of fish from the tail. Remove the head and weigh yourself. This tuna weighs only 272 pounds. Captain Marcia was satisfied. Next comes the fat content of tuna. The fatter the fish, the higher the price. The tuna will be shipped to Japan. Oil prices are high this year, so the shipping costs will be high. Consider the cost of a secondary sale. Buyers don't want to overpay. The buyer looks at the fast tuna meat. They gave you a unit price of $21 per pound. The fish sold for $5,712. Marcia, they were quite satisfied. The price, however, is no surprise. That's a pretty low price for a first tuna. They continued to sail in preparation for tomorrow. Jack's team waited at sea all night. He was desperate to catch tuna. Waiting is anxious and uncomfortable. There's a lot of live bait in the boathouse. They need to keep changing the bait. If these mackerel bait activity decreases, you have to replace it with a new mackerel. That's how it attracts the tuna bite. 3 fishing boats have been spotted near Taylor. The competition is huge. Soon the tuna appeared under the boat. Taylor's rod was bent again. They've been waiting for this fish since last night. The tuna just took the bait. Be very vigorous. You have to wait for it to wear out before you reel it in. Marissa was in no hurry this time. After all, it's not time to go crazy. As long as tuna, every strength. Marissa needs to start retracting. The tuna is running wild under the water. He wants to get off the hook again. Taylor's biggest fear was that the line would be cut. If that's the case, Tyler would lose 2 tuna a day. There's a lot of lobster gear out at sea. If tuna swim into this area, it's very easy to decouple. The tuna tugs as hard as it can under the water. It doesn't seem to want to be a tuna prick, but I got caught on the hook of a beautiful woman like Marissa. Tuna will become a licking dog. After they got rid of the obstacle rope, Marissa continues to reel in the line, even though he's wearing leggings. Still enough for a single dog to go through 2 packs of tissues. Tyler's got a harpoon ready to attack. I can tell from the posture that it's an old gunslinger. I don't know how many tuna girls have succumbed to his spear. The tuna was quickly pulled to the surface. This is the perfect time to attack it. Wait for the tuna to approach. Taylor takes the harpoon and hits it. They had no trouble getting the tuna into their possession. Tie the fish's tail with a rope. After doing this step, they were completely excited. They were so lucky. The other captains received Tuna's message again. This is an enviable piece of news. After pulling the tuna on board, the size of the tuna excited them again. This is a giant bluefin tuna. The tuna is 112 inches long. Taylor's team is the luckiest team today. 2 tuna catches, and it's very big. At night, they return to the port to sell fish. Today is the first day of the fishing season. Tyler, they're not the first fish, but it's the biggest. I'm sure it weighs more than Marcia and them. Core. This tuna weighs a whopping 560 pounds. It's way bigger than Marcia's. This is definitely a big tuna. The next step is to judge the fish's quality. The fish is bright red and beautiful. The fat content is also very high. The core of the fish is beautiful too. I thought it would be expensive, but the buyers simply offered $16 per pound, although Taylor made $8,960. But a bluefin tuna this big, it's only $16 a pound. The buyer looks pretty. Why is your heart so black? A day passed in this way. 2 fish on the first day of the season. Early the next morning, all teams head out again to the fishing spot. Otter, they saw the whales feeding. Food debris usually attracts tuna. The teammates felt very excited. The belief that where there's a whale, there's a tuna. I hope this whale will bring them good luck. While they were still drunk watching whales, they cast mackerel bait. Soon the probe beeped. Their fishing rods were jerked in an instant. Everyone was excited at once. The sun has just risen. The tuna takes the bait. Watch the sunrise fishing for tuna. The mood suddenly improved. The fishing rod was pulled very hard. The opponent is pulling on the line. This tuna doesn't have the strength to fight. The whales are still eating breakfast nearby. All the OTT team has to do is bring in the tuna. You can leave early today. Soon the tuna loses its strength and got hit hard with a harpoon. This tuna is going to be the sashimi of the Japs. They tied the fish's tail with rope. Today is their victory day. Everyone was happy about it. The tuna cools in the water. When they pull the fish into the boat, this fish is not very big, only 79 inches. He looks very thin. Will this bluefin tuna bring them a high price? Dave and his men have been at sea for 2 days, but nothing came of it. If you haven't caught a fish today, that would be far behind other fishing boats. He once fished a 1,000-pound tuna here. Hopefully this position will bring him luck again. They say the first step is the hardest. Once you catch your first fish, the rest is much easier, with the first mackerel bait of the day down in the water. The next step is to wait for the pie to fall. Soon a tuna appeared nearby. They were immediately on alert. The fishing rod was pulled directly. The team is stepping on the hot wheel to finish. Captain Dave sees a future in this boy. Get him out of the way right now. The tuna just bit the hook. Still very physical. It's going to have to wait a while to reel it in. It was very close under the boat, but he's still strong. Sandro waits for his chance with a harpoon. The tuna went crazy after the hit. They had to try a second strike, but it's also causing this fish to go crazy. Before the tuna wears out, hook the tuna straight through. The fish was quickly contained. Looks like Dave and his crew are the violent reapers. He told the other captains the news. Let them envy you. Tuna trawl through the water to cool off. After they pulled the fish into the boat. Look thin, only 74 inches. It's the smallest tuna in 2 days. It's only the second day. The fish gave them great confidence. They soon returned to the port to sell fish. This fish is not big, but they really want the fish to be fat enough. Maybe the price will be low this year. Taylor's 560-pound tuna. I gave you $16 per unit. I wonder how much Dave's going to get for this fish. This tuna weighs only 159 pounds. I mean, it's just a little fish. Just depends on how fat this tuna is. Look at the dark red color of the fish. Anyone who buys tuna for their dog knows that. The deep red color of tuna meat means that the fish has been burned. The condition is usually caused by improper handling of the tuna after it is caught. The temperature of a tuna's blood is very high. If you don't cool the blood, it burns the fish. It's lactic acid that builds up in tuna. The fish burns and the lactic acid builds up. This is not a good escape for high-end sashimi. When they heard what the buyers said, I had a feeling this fish wasn't going to fetch much. The buyer offered $13 a pound. The price is ridiculously low. I could almost sell it to college kids. There's no need to underprice the crew. It is a very black heart. Captain Paul has been at sea for 2 days. He couldn't catch any fish last year. The boss pushed him straight into the ocean and fed him to the sharks. From then on, he swore to himself that he would take out a loan to buy a boat. This year, he will go fishing as his own boss. No fish for 2 days in a row. He is feeling very anxious now. There's a lot of mackerel in the barn. I picked one up at random, hooked the mackerel to the head of the fish. The next step is to wait for the tuna to bite. It didn't take long for the probe to respond. The fishing rod is pulled straight up and bent. They were both instantly excited. They waited 2 days for the fish. Finally starting to make some money. But it's not easy to catch a tuna. If tuna is crazy, it's easy to decouple. They were fishing. You don't usually pray for your dog's blessing, because it has to do with puppies. Tuna scurrying all over the bottom of the boat. Not to mention what this fish wants. Just get up here and be sashimi and make yourself worth it, okay? Soon the tuna is pulled to the surface. Paul takes out his harpoon and attacks directly. I was shot by Paul. Not even 10 widows. Not to mention a tuna weighing 200 pounds. They soon took control of the tuna. Today's success isn't just Dave's. There's a part of Paul, too. Tuna trawl through the water to cool off. If this process is not done well, it can easily burn the fish and produce lactic acid. Paul pulls the tuna into the boat. This fish is only 93 inches. That's a pretty good head start. Looks like this fish is big. It should be over 300 pounds. While I was getting my stuff, Paul had a fall. Paul was crying, touching his knee. But it doesn't hurt. Maybe it wasn't me that fell. My teammates are in trouble. He was quickly hit with a fishing rod. No doubt Paul did it on purpose. OTT's team returned to port. They sell the fish to this shady buyer. Each tuna needs to look at the fish to determine the price. After removing the head and tail, it weighs just 266 pounds. It was pretty satisfactory. This fish doesn't look good, and it's low in fat. The buyer eventually offered $17 a pound. OTT and his crew raked in $4,522. Paul and his men also returned to the port to sell fish. He looks like a very big fish. If there are no accidents, probably the fattest bluefin tuna of the day. This fish weighs only 268 pounds. Paul was pleased with it. The first thing the buyer said was that the fish was thin. That means prices will be low. The fish is very well handled. The final price was $15 per pound. Paul's bluefin tuna sold for $4,020. What surprises will they bring us next? Look forward to an update in the next video.